We have a couple of interesting stories, including one about an entitled stepfather who tried to steal the college fund of his stepkids and got dealt with. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. I regret getting my wife a puppy. For the longest time my wife has wanted her own puppy, not the family dog, not her brother's dog, not my dog. Her own puppy. I had absolutely no problem with it, but dogs are a lot to handle and expensive. So I had her sit on it and think about what kind of dog, how old, etc. I have been living overseas due to work and figured when I came back home for a break I'd get her a dog, so we went and found the cutest little puppy who was on sale too and decided to buy him. She didn't think about the breed at all, like how energetic they are, what their health conditions are, grooming or anything. And is now regretting having a puppy. Of course I'm not there in person, but we FaceTime constantly and all I ever hear is her yelling at the puppy for being a puppy, and all I get to see is a few-second video of him running around, but other than that he's stuck on her bed with a single toy. She rants about the puppy doing puppy things to me and I try and level with her that he's a literal baby and he's not going to act like a full-grown dog anytime soon, but then she just gets angry with me because she just wants to rant. But all I ever hear is how bad this puppy is and I feel like it was a waste of money and he's going to have a subpar life. I realize now my wife wanted a puppy but none of the responsibilities that come with it, and expected me to take care of it knowing full well I'd be going back overseas. I'll take any advice I can get at this point. The top replies, if she expects you to take care of the dog after getting her a puppy, I'd return the dog or donate it to a shelter. Having pets comes with huge responsibilities as they are like kids, only smaller. These are things you should have asked her first before investing in a pet. The original poster replies, she's been begging for a dog for 5 years now, and always browses pet stores and their websites. Her family has owned dogs all her life and she has a cat and a lizard. She assured me she could handle it, and I trusted her with it since she had never given me a reason not to, except not doing research on the puppy. I have no problem with raising animals, I've done it for a long time, but this puppy is hers and I've given her that responsibility. I just recently sat her down about it for the second time and if there's no progress I'm going to rehome this sweet puppy to someone who cares. Second reply, dude, WTF. You got her the puppy, and you know about dogs, but you didn't choose a breed that was known for being easy on first-time owners? You knew it would have your wife as its sole carer for its puppy phase and you just went with cute and cheap? Anyway, give it away while it's still young. Don't get her a puppy until you are home, and when you do the research if she hasn't. Second story. Am I the idiot for not going to my mom's house for Christmas and refusing to make my little sister go too? I'm 17 and my little sister is 15. Our dad died about 10 years ago. It was sudden and devastating. One day he kissed and hugged me and sis and told us he loved us, and then we never heard from him again. At the time I couldn't fully grasp why he chose to stay away even though mom tried to explain it to us. I missed him and thought I did something wrong to make dad mad. I repeatedly called his phone hoping he would answer, but it always went directly to his voicemail. At his funeral, I realized I would never see him again and I broke down. I don't remember much from that day except Uncle David held me the entire time. He held me throughout the funeral, during the drive home, and as I fell asleep that night. Uncle Alan did the same thing with sis. It wasn't easy growing up with just my mom and sis, but not as tough as it could have been because the two uncles were always a phone call away. Whenever we needed help with school, one of the uncles was there to tutor us. One of them was always in the front row of every school performance and game. Whenever I wake up in the middle of the night and miss dad, I'll call Uncle David and know he'll always pick up. My mom eventually remarried to Bob. I never liked Bob because he always had to be in control and placed us on a strict schedule. Dinner was at 7 every day no matter what. If we came home late and dinner was over, we weren't allowed to eat that night. Whenever our uncles gave me and sis money, we had to give it to Bob and he divided the money equally. A couple of months ago, sis and I were eating with Uncle David and his family. Our dinner conversation eventually led to where I want to go for college and how to pay for it. Uncle David told me that the uncles decided long ago they were going to pay for me and sis's tuition and cost of living on campus. I cried when I heard that and laughed when he jokingly said he hope I don't get into medical school because that's going to cost him a fortune. I went home and excitedly told Mom and Bob that the uncles are going to pay for our colleges. Instead of being happy, they both looked furious and Bob started screaming about how unfair it was to our step-siblings and half-sister that were getting a free ride through college. He wanted me to tell our uncles to divide the college funds equally among the kids, but I refused. The next day he kept on screaming at us, so Sis and I packed our bags to go to Uncle David's house. He kept on screaming and even followed us out to my car. Sis and I have been living Uncle David and his family ever since. This feels more like home than it ever did at our house. Mom has been asking us to come home for Christmas for a month now and I've been refusing. Today is the 24th and she's been calling all morning crying and saying how we need to spend Christmas with family. Am I wrong for not spending Christmas with Mom? The top replies, not the idiot. Bob's kids are not entitled to what your uncles have. They aren't blood relatives. I am going to assume your uncles are the brothers of your father? You did the right thing. You and your sister were subjected to a guy that really doesn't give a shit about you and is more interested in giving what you have to his kids. Your mother let it happen. Stay at your uncles. They've been there for you all your lives, and it's clear they love you guys so much. Your mother sounds like when she married Bob, she chose her new family over the one she already had, and the two kids that had lost their dad. I'm sorry for your loss. I hope things work out for you and your sister, and you succeed in life. I am sure your dad is very proud of you, wherever he may be. The second reply, not the idiot. Denying you food simply because you missed the dinner bell is abusive. Getting upset over you getting a full ride to college is not great, either. Sometimes, we have to work a little harder to find people who truly love us. I'm glad your uncles are there for you. Third reply. So frustrating to see parents who sacrifice the well-being of their children just so that the parent gets to have a significant other. I'm always like, if they're going to pay for the relationship that way, why do they aim so low? Isn't the mental/physical health of your child valuable enough to trade in for at least for someone with a net worth in the range of $250 mother-in-law or so? The well-being of a child is priceless, and I don't view them as currency to trade on a karmic market for a partner. The third story. Am I the idiot for wanting to bring my cat back into my house after wife's late stillbirth? My wife and I were expecting a child in October. We are in our early 30s and have been trying for a child for some time. Due to character limits I won't get into details, but it has been difficult. In February, we discovered that she was pregnant. Obviously, we were over the moon with joy. We began to prepare. We did everything you could possibly do to get ready. We planned a baby shower and sent out invitations. We prepared a beautiful room with a custom-made crib by my father-in-law, who is a very talented woodworker, and we were extremely thorough in baby-proofing our home. During the baby-proofing, my wife started to suggest that we get rid of my cat, Bubba, who is 12 years old and I've had since he was a kitten. I got him in college, I adopted him, and each of my two sisters adopted another kitten from the same litter. Bubba is extremely affectionate to me, so sweet and cuddly. He tolerates my wife, but is not affectionate towards her. To strangers, he is not nice. He has never bitten or scratched anyone, but he does a lot of hissing and yowling at people he is unfamiliar with. My wife was afraid that he'd scare the baby, he wouldn't be welcoming to a newborn, or that he'd hurt her. I argued gently, but eventually acquiesced. In her 28th week of pregnancy, we sent him to live with my parents. He was not happy there. My parents said he cried all day and walked around meowing 24 hours a day, looking for me. Tragically, my wife and I lost our child just weeks before she was due. We still don't have a lot of answers, and it's painful to get into. We mourned. We were inconsolable for weeks. I still cannot think about it without feeling complete agony and loss. After a month, we returned to some level of normalcy, as normal as things could be, anyway. We've started to explore adoption. Last week, I told my wife I was going to pick up Bubba to bring him back home. She exploded. She said that under no circumstances would she allow him back in our house, and that I had agreed to have him live with my parents. I missed him. He's been my best friend for years, he's been my loyal companion my entire adult life. She told me that I could pretty much choose between her or Bubba. I told her that obviously I would choose her, it's not even a question, but that I didn't understand her reasoning and I felt she was being cruel. She'd lived with Bubba for 10 years, and there had never been any problem. The adoption process can take 8 to 12 months on average, and I'd like to spend that time having Bubba around. We haven't spoken about it since. This is the first fight we've had. Am I being unreasonable / the idiot in wanting my cat back? Fourth story. 28M, 26F. I haven't seen my GF in 2 weeks and it's really bothering me that she went out with friends to a bar instead of seeing me on Christmas. First off, I want to preface this with some background info in that I really do care about and love this girl, but her 2 friends, to put it bluntly, are awful people. Last time I was out with her and her friends decided it was a good idea to just randomly beat up her ex while me and her were driving over to start the night after I got off work. So it's safe to say that I absolutely do not trust them. On to the crux of the situation, I haven't really seen my so in 2 weeks. Now there is many factors that have prevented me from seeing her, the main 2 being that she has a kid and got a job recently. Both of those I can understand and have been supportive of, as obviously the kid takes priority over everything else and she hasn't had a job in years, so is strapped for cash. I will say that she has been saying that her kid's been getting too attached to me, which I just brushed off in the past as she's had terrible choices in partners, but now just heightens my paranoia about everything. Recently though, she told me that she went out with her friends to drink / do karaoke instead of coming over for Christmas after I invited her. I feel very slighted by this cause she's actively chose her friends over me after constant troubles trying to even see her and her always saying, when I have some free time. I don't know if I'm being possessive, insecure, or have a genuine grievance. How should I go about this? I'll give any additional info needed if asked, I just need some advice. Top replies. Comments are addressing the major points and I hope you were able to do what's best for you. But you need to rethink this whole, she's a good girl with friends that are terrible people. She chooses them. She is one of them. If you think her friends are awful, she is, too. Stop giving her the benefit of the doubt just because when she's with you she usually behaves better. One of the best ways to define people is through their friends, who they choose to invest in and support. The second reply. Have you talked to her about any of this? The original poster replies, yes, over text she insists in no big deal and that I'm just being insecure. So I'm trying to check myself with this post. The third reply. Did you have this conversation over text? Because maybe an in-person conversation would help communicate your feelings better. But if it was just ignore me lol. Originally poster replies, it was over text cause she's busy with work. I told her I want to at the very least talk to her in person, but she kinda stonewalling me on the. The fifth story. 26 male 31 female, is my girlfriend using me? I, 26M, have been with my girlfriend, 31F, for about a year and a half. And during that time I've bought her gifts for her birthday, Valentine's and Christmas and have paid for our food pretty much every time we have gone out. And during that time she hasn't gotten me a present for anything. I'm not saying I need someone to buy me stuff, but should I be the only one paying for stuff? We have only had sex one time in the entire time we've been together. Any advice on what to do in my situation? The top reply. Quit paying. I bet your problem gets solved. I imagine she would leave.